everyone. My name is June, and my husband Gabriel is also assisting me in writing this story. Before I delve into it, I would like to share something with you. The initial encounter with Gabriel's parents, Luis and Lena, was quite disastrous. Are you interested in knowing what they expressed? Here it is. I am astounded that you would choose to date such an unsuccessful person, Gabriel. This woman truly lacks any positive qualities. She only holds a desk position in a small office. How on earth will she be able to provide us with a prosperous life? Mother, I love June, and she is the only one I desire. I do not care about her financial status or earnings. Those things have never mattered to me. Well, they mattered to us, Gabriel. We made that explicitly clear to you from the very beginning. If only you had paid attention to us, you would have listened. Listen to me, Gabriel. If this woman has nothing else to offer, she cannot become our daughter-in-law. We will not approve of her. You need to find someone else. No, Mother. June is the one for me. I am going to marry her. In fact, I had the entire proposal planned out, and now everything has been ruined because of you. Throughout this conversation, I remained stunned. Yes, I was surprised that Gabriel had intentions of proposing to me. We'd had been in a relationship for 3 years, and I hoped he would ask me to marry him, but I did not anticipate such a swift action. However, that was not the sole reason for my astonishment. The behavior of Luis and Lena towards our relationship deeply concerned me. Gabriel had warned me about them. He had said, "Look, June, I have already met your father, and he is a wonderful person. A man who is also a great father. It is evident that you hold very high expectations for my parents. Allow me to inform you that they are not honorable individuals." Gabriel, why do you speak in such a manner about your unfortunate parents? They must be virtuous individuals, as they have exerted great effort in raising you. It must have been challenging for them to manage. They are truly diligent individuals. You fail to comprehend, June. Yes, they have toiled tirelessly to provide me with a college education, which in turn helped me secure a good job. However, their actions were driven by greed. They have always desired for me to marry someone wealthy so they can benefit from my spouse's wealth and live a comfortable life. They will not be pleased when they discover that you work in an office. Naive as I was, I had no inkling of how heartless and self-centered parents could be. My own parents were exceptional individuals, and even Gabriel acknowledged this. While Gabriel financially supported his parents, he had minimal contact with them. For some reason, he held disdain towards them. Nevertheless, he did not sever ties with them, because they always guilted him about the sacrifices they had made. The day I met his parents was the day I realized the insatiable greed of Luis and Lena. Regardless of Luis and Lena's protests, Gabriel proposed to me and we entered into marriage. Luis and Lena threatened to boycott the wedding, but ultimately attended. I later discovered that Gabriel had pleaded and begged for their presence. He did not have much family on his side and desperately longed for his parents to be there. His parents only agreed to attend after he informed them that I was not a destitute orphan. Despite lacking financial resources, my father possessed his own residence and had some assets in his possession. Evidently, this was sufficient to convince them to attend the wedding. However, they consistently made their intentions known. They explicitly informed me that they still disapproved of our marriage. Gabriel, being a successful individual, had not met their expectations. Their disappointment stemmed from his decision not to marry rich. They admitted that they would not have attended if they believed I had nothing to offer. Fortunately, my father's possessions provided some consolation. I sincerely hope that you will remember our presence today, June, when you eventually inherit the house. Today is my wedding day, and I am healthy and content with my father's well-being. There is no reason for the two of you to mention any inheritance. Upon hearing their words, I became infuriated and promptly distanced myself from them. My father was the sole remaining family member in my life, and their comments on my special day sickened me. I was also taken aback by Louis and Lena's audacity in demanding a share of my wealth. I chose not to inform Gabriel about the incident, as I did not want to spoil his day. Additionally, I understood the difficulty he faced in severing ties with his parents. Unfortunately, this marked the beginning of a downward spiral for us. Despite our happiness together, Gabriel's parents persistently interfered with our financial matters. Louis and Lena continuously pestered us, seeking precise details regarding my father's net worth. We deliberately evaded their inquiries, yet they persisted in their pestering. Frankly, their actions where the conduct was humiliating and privileged. There was no justification they were entitled to be aware of the extent of my father's wealth. We couldn't distance ourselves from him because we resided in the same town and Gabriel desired to maintain some form of relationship with his parents. For a few years, I endured Louis and Lena's greedy behaviors. They did succeed in depleting mine and Gabriel's savings by continuously demanding more and more money. They concocted excuses regarding the funds and even manipulated us emotionally when we attempted to decline. Their remarks about me and my inheritance also persisted without end. I simply began to disregard them. Additionally, I disregarded them. However, I reached a low point when my father received a cancer diagnosis. It was an aggressive type of cancer and his time was limited. Since he lived far away from us, we flew to see him on a few occasions. Louis and Lena were never pleased with this. They stated, "You shouldn't squander so much money on traveling to see your father. You two are doing it too frequently. It will deplete your finances. Yes, that's correct. He won't live much longer and he's in hospice care. There's nothing you can do for him anymore. So it's better to save your money and not waste it there." Visiting my dying father is not a waste of money, guys, and what we choose to do with our finances is entirely our decision. You have no authority to dictate to us. We are your relatives by marriage and have the right to express our opinions. It's for your own benefit. I believe the two of you should spend your money on individuals who will live long enough to appreciate it. I was livid at what the words of my father echoed in my mind. My father's condition was deteriorating, and it was taking a toll on my sanity. If you've experienced the loss of a parent, you understand the pain I was going through. During this difficult time, Louis and Lena offered no support. Instead, they subtly urged me not to visit my father and suggested I spend money on them instead. Fortunately, Gabriel defended me and put an end to their conversation. However, that incident fueled my determination to teach them a lesson. Once I had regained my composure, I made a promise to myself to show them their place. Sadly, my father passed away approximately 3 months after his diagnosis. The news devastated me. I had hoped for more time with him. Witnessing his deteriorating health, I knew the end was near. Accepting his loss was incredibly challenging. Throughout this entire ordeal, Gabriel was my pillar of strength. He held my hand as we traveled to my father's town to make funeral arrangements. Meanwhile, Louis and Lena bombarded me with phone calls, demanding information about my inheritance and how much I intended to spend on the funeral. Their messages disgusted me, and Gabriel shared my sentiments. However, we refrained from taking any action. We both agreed that they would face the consequences once we returned home from the funeral. As expected, Louis and Lena appeared at our doorstep as soon as Gabriel and I arrived home. They wasted no time bombarding us with questions. They asked, "So the funeral is finally over. I've been dying to know what you inherited. Surely your father left you the house, right? How much did you get? What are you even discussing, Lena? How does my share of the family inheritance concern you in any way?" I returned from my father's funeral, and this is the topic you choose to bring up. Oh please, June, don't be such a spoilsport. Ever since Gabriel married you, we've been curious about his reasons. I mean, you don't have an impressive job, and you're not particularly attractive. What did he see in you? Louis and I speculated that it must be because of money. "Mom, what has gotten into you? How can you insult me and my spouse like that?" We married each other out of love, as I've explained to you countless times. Please refrain from bringing it up today. Gabriel, there's no need to be so dramatic. We're simply posing a question to your wife. She can just answer and satisfy our curiosity. We wouldn't mind if you married June for financial reasons. In fact, we'd be pleased to know that you've secured a valuable asset. Accusing your own son of being a gold digger makes you both terrible parents. You two are completely irrational. I can't fathom how a remarkable man like Gabriel was born into such repulsive individuals. Enough with the idle chatter, June. Share with us what you've inherited. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Your father must have left you something significant. Gabriel mentioned that he lived in a sizable residence. You could reveal it now and perhaps buy us a house instead. We would certainly put the money to good use. After all, we're your parents now. Hearing this filled me with anger. I was boiling with rage while Gabriel stared at his parents in disbelief. Even he couldn't comprehend the fact. It was surprising to see the extent of greed and selfishness displayed by my parents. Barely a month had passed since my father's passing, and they were already making plans to use my inheritance for their own benefit. They even had the audacity to refer to themselves as my new parents. It was at that moment I realized that I had to take action. For years, I had tolerated their behavior for the sake of Gabriel, but today, I wanted to show him just how manipulative his parents truly were. So I calmly stated that my father no longer owned the house when he passed away. I regretfully informed them that although he had owned it for a long time, circumstances forced him to let it go. Their reaction was one of disbelief. "Wait, are you saying that your father didn't even own his own house anymore?" they asked. I repeated my earlier statement, explaining that he had owned it in the past, but had recently lost it. Therefore, I did not inherit the house or any other assets as they had assumed. Their shock turned to pity as they exclaimed, "Oh my God, so your father was actually poor. We always thought you were too cheap to come from a wealthy background. It's heartbreaking to think that he died without a house to his name." They then turned their attention to me, telling me to leave Gabriel since I was apparently worthless. But Gabriel stood up for our marriage, stating that the lack of inheritance should not be a reason to end our relationship. He refused to let them dictate our future based on such a trivial matter. However, his parents dismissed his words, claiming that our union was a disappointment to them. They accused me of trapping Gabriel into marrying me and criticized my ability to keep them happy. Their harsh words only served to deepen my shame. I couldn't believe that I had a son who thought so little of me, but I reassured Gabriel that their opinions did not define our love. Article is about a family conflict involving Gabriel, his wife June, and his parents Louis and Lena. Gabriel's parents have been pressuring him to divorce June and marry a wealthy woman so that they can live a life of luxury. Gabriel is becoming frustrated and overwhelmed by the situation. June, seeing an opportunity, confronts Gabriel and asks him if he will allow his parents to continue manipulating their lives. She expresses her frustration with their gold-digging ways and emphasizes that she has tolerated it for far too long. Gabriel's breaking point is reached when he realizes how his parents have used him for their own desires. He firmly declares that he will no longer tolerate their behavior and refuses to leave June. Gabriel's parents try to convince him that leaving June would be in his best interest and that they will help him find a wealthy wife. However, Gabriel stands his ground, asserting that he will not be controlled like a puppet anymore. He makes it clear that his parents are no longer welcome in his life. Despite their objections, Gabriel chooses to stay with June, disregarding the fact that she did not receive an inheritance. The article ends with Gabriel's parents questioning the purpose of keeping June in his life, leaving the reader wondering what will happen next. What we desired was never attained. She is completely undeserving of you. If you choose to remain in this marriage, we will no longer associate with you. We will not offer any assistance when she deceives you and leaves you in poverty." Witnessing Lena and Louis' atrocious conduct, I ultimately made the decision to disclose the truth to them. I was aware that revealing my true wealth would make them plead and beg at my feet. I wanted to fully expose them. I wanted Gabriel to have no regrets about his decision, so I informed them that there would be no need for their involvement. I do not intend to deceive Gabriel and take his money. I have an abundance of wealth on my own, and I will take care of Gabriel perfectly fine without your assistance. It's ironic coming from you. You don't have to fabricate stories to make yourself look better, June. We already know the truth. Yes, the truth is that you're the daughter of a financially disadvantaged man, and your job does not generate a substantial income. In a few months, you will pursue Gabriel's wealth once you are destitute. Well, in reality, I am not a daughter of a financially disadvantaged man. I have 50 million in my bank account. No, I did not earn it through my employment. Instead, I inherited it from my father. That is inconceivable. Your father did not possess any assets. You stated that yourself. Do not attempt to deceive us, June. We can see through your falsehoods. Your tactics will not succeed with us. We will ensure that you divorce our son and relinquish him to our care. I smiled at them and then glanced at Gabriel. He still appeared very angry, but he gave me the signal to proceed. He understood me inwardly, and thus he was aware of what was approaching. I accessed my bank account and presented them with my bank equilibrium. Louis and Lena glanced at it once and had their eyebrows raised toward the heavens. They gazed at each other and exclaimed, "No, no, no, this is inconceivable. You must have fabricated these bank statements. You stated that you did not receive an inheritance. Heck, you'd even mentioned that your father did not possess his residence until the end. From where did this money originate? What I neglected to inform you was the reality that my father possessed a sizable estate where he resided. He sold the estate and the dwelling prior to his demise. He bestowed upon me an early inheritance before admitting himself into hospice care. He did not desire for me to utilize my personal funds for his well-being. He was dissimilar from both of you. Louis and Lena were unable to fathom what they beheld. Even my utterances did not ring true to them. Therefore, they inquired of Gabriel for the veracity. When he verified what they observed, they fell silent for a moment and exchanged glances once more. Then suddenly, they completely altered their stance and exclaimed, "Oh, this is such splendid news." Here I was under the impression that my offspring had committed a colossal blunder. You should have apprised us earlier about your wealth. Yes, we became agitated for naught. Your father provided for you admirably, June. I am certain that you will make judicious use of that money now. As I mentioned, we are akin to your own progenitors. Since this matter has been resolved, there is no need for you to depart. Gabriel, you ought to have disclosed something to us. We doubted your abilities for no reason. You indeed made a fortunate marital union, my son. I am overjoyed today. With the Gabriel statement indicated that my task was complete. I refrained from using foul language and allowed him to take charge of the conversation. I had faith in my spouse to make the appropriate decisions, and he did not disappoint. Gabriel was seething with anger and began shouting at his parents. He exclaimed, "You still have the nerve to stand here and continue talking to us? Seriously, how can you expect June to support you? You were pressuring us to get divorced, and now you suddenly consider her family? How could you do this? We had no knowledge of her true wealth back then, Gabriel. She concealed the truth from us. How are we supposed to know she was actually rich? Yes, June, we apologize for assuming the worst. You truly surprised us. Now that you've received an apology, can we move past this already?" "No, absolutely not. I will never forgive the two of you for what you did today," Gabriel firmly stated. "I just returned from burying my father, and you didn't even allow me to grieve in peace. I will never forget or forgive this. I believe it's been enough already. Since the two of you hold such a low opinion of me, There's no reason for me to keep you in my life. Today, I will protect myself and my wife from your toxic presence. Leave my house and don't even consider returning. Starting next month, you're on your own. I won't provide any financial assistance anymore. After today, you don't deserve any kind of help." After Gabriel expressed his thoughts, Luis and Lena became extremely angry with us. They also pleaded and begged us not to sever ties with them. Neither Gabriel nor I paid any heed to their pleas. In truth, Gabriel was so furious that he threatened to notify the authorities if they did not vacate our residence promptly. Upon hearing these ultimatums, both Luis and Lena departed from our premises, but persisted in bombarding us with incessant calls and messages. We proceeded to block their contact information before reiterating our intention to press charges should their harassment persist. Over the ensuing days, Gabriel assumed full responsibility for dealing with his relatives while I mourned my father in a befitting manner. Finally, I found myself in a serene environment where I could reminisce about my childhood recollections and cherish the positive moments spent with my father. He was truly an exceptional individual. Once he comprehended my reluctance to relocate to the southern regions, he sold his property to alleviate any concerns on my part. He even declined any financial assistance towards his medical expenses, utilizing a portion of the proceeds from the sale to cover hospice care. He was genuinely a remarkable parent, and his absence is still deeply felt. On the other hand, Gabriel also experienced grief due to the loss of his family, albeit for different reasons. Although he was relieved to be liberated from his toxic relatives, certain individuals attempted to guilt him for abandoning them. These individuals ceased their pestering upon learning the full story from Gabriel. Presently, anyone acquainted with Luis and Lena feels repulsed by their actions. Despite our efforts to cut off all communication by blocking their numbers and changing our locks, this duo persistently attempted to reach out to us. We are contemplating pursuing restraining orders if their behavior does not cease in the near future. Meanwhile, I have recently stumbled upon a newfound sense of I recently discovered that I am expecting a baby. It saddens me that my father won't be able to be involved in my child's upbringing, but Gabriel and I are truly embracing this unexpected news and making all the necessary preparations to welcome our little miracle into our lives very soon.